You can't live in fear, but be aware that to take as good as care of yourself as you can, and listen to the education that's out there with heart and stroke, and because you never know when it might come in handy.
Hi, Rosemary.
Walter, it's so nice to see you. There's my most favorite person in the world.
I was at a golf tournament here in Brantford, and I was the guest speaker. We'd all finished our meal. We'd hacked our way around the course, and then we had our dinner, and I spoke, and everybody was just relaxing. And I said, you know what? I've already gone over the signs and symptoms of stroke. I've given you my life story, how it was for me and what happened to me. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go over the signs and symptoms of stroke a second time, just to make sure, because one day it could happen to you or one of your family. And I remember doing that. I remember I did that twice. And I don't know how much time elapsed, whether it was a couple of months or what it was, but there was a gentleman who was there from Brantford, and he was working with his wife, and all of a sudden she got a violent headache.
And if it wasn't for you spreading the word.
Well, your husband was listening, see?
Yes, he was. If I could find him, he remembered. John.
Hi, Walter.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good thing you were listening, eh? She's alive. We're all happy. We're all here.
I come.
So you remembered right away when I was going over the signs and symptoms, eh?
Yes.
We here at Toronto Rehab do have a stroke education series, and we talk about secondary prevention and risk factor modification. And certainly fitness is something that is really big right now in my field of physiotherapy. And we do, we encourage our patients to get out there and get their fitness levels up, whether it's on a stationary bike, semi-recumbent bike, maybe it's pedals that they pedal. Maybe we just encourage them to walk in their corridor if they can. Obviously, it has to be something safe. It has to be based on a specific assessment of that individual to know what is best. But a really important thing to realize is that anything you do in your everyday life is exercise. And every time you challenge yourself to do more for yourself at home, do more around the house, go out walking, this is all exercise, and it's valid and valuable. It could be folding laundry, it could be doing the vacuuming, it could be playing with your grandchildren. And even in vacuuming, I mean, it's a balance activity. You're using your legs, you're strengthening your legs, you're strengthening your arm. So, you know, as a physiotherapist, going up and watching someone vacuum, you could analyze all of the exercise benefits that they're getting from that.
If I don't exercise, I find I don't have as much energy. And my form of exercising is walking. I try to do it 3 times a week for about an hour, and usually I do it to timed music. And I walk about 3.3 miles in an hour. And before I had my stroke, I could go faster than that, but now I go that speed. But that's good. And as I say, it seems to keep my legs in better shape, like as for strength.
To be honest with you, yes, I did have a little fear of perhaps having another stroke, because I've heard sometimes one can follow a minor stroke. Sometimes you can have a more severe one. So yes, that did bother me. I try to keep my weight down. I feel like I have a very good diet, everything in moderation, and try to avoid all those fatty foods.
I think that sometimes people think of diet in terms of prevention of heart disease, but somehow stroke gets left out of it. People think that stroke happens. They think that a healthy lifestyle is important in preventing a heart attack, but a healthy lifestyle, and that includes active living and a healthy diet, is really important in stroke prevention.
仲有咧，係啦，食多啲蔬菜。What she basically said is she knows. The first response is she knows. I know now, right? Because she said like all those high cholesterol stuff, high fat, that she won't eat, and then eat less, not eat too much, and then what she said is eat more vegetables, more fruits. That's what she learned after she got the stroke.
All too often when people think about making dietary changes, they think about what they need to cut out, and it just makes them feel bad. And if you focus on what you're supposed to include at each meal, then you actually are not hungry for the foods you're supposed to eat less of.
I don't put salt in things anymore, and that again, nobody told me not to. I just know that it's not that good for us, and so I know that most of the products that we use, like I'm going to be putting soup in here, and a bottled jarred tomato sauce, which will have salt. But I use a lot of things. This has paprika in it as well. You can see I measure really well. Measuring with a spoon is just next to impossible, so I just don't. I just eyeball it, and it's always right. Of course, Doug wouldn't complain if it wasn't, or he'd be doing it. I have a philosophy: if you complain about the way something tastes or is, then you get to do it next time. One thing that I do add, though, instead of salt, is nutmeg. I use a lot of nutmeg, just a little tiny bit. You don't know it's there, but it seems to take the place of salt.
Well, there are many herbs and spices that can really enhance the taste of food. And so using, for example, fresh herbs are wonderful when you add things like fresh basil to a dish, or parsley with a little bit of lemon juice or a little bit of lemon zest. And what's really interesting is the research shows that all these foods that you may add to your diet promote heart health or artery health because they contain antioxidants, for example, and antioxidants are artery friendly.
Yes, I take my blood pressure periodically, about every 2 weeks. And particularly now, for the next month, I might take it about every 4 days because I'm going to visit Dr. Gladstone at that prevention of second stroke clinic. And we'll turn on the machine, and I give Dr. Gladstone a little record. You can get these cards at any drugstore. In particular, I got these at PharmaPlus. Another way I try to prevent the second stroke is to take my medications that are prescribed and take them at the proper time of day.
The hardest part with Mom is trying to get her to not worry about the little things so much. And that's one thing that Sarah and I always harp on her a little bit, like, it's all these small things, it's not something you need to worry about.
And then too, probably in that aspect, although I'm fine and I don't worry about ever going through something like that again, maybe you get set into a thing that everything has to be right and in order, because if something happened, like it's a deep psychologically, you're not thinking that way, but the overall picture is that you want everything right, because tomorrow, and it's it's hard to explain, and it's silly when you say it, but you just want everything okay for them and John. But I keep telling them you're going to have me around to nag you for a long time. Hey.